Good afternoon, football fans. Big Al here on this Wednesday, September 4th, 2024, and welcome into the Week 2 college football television schedule and all the announcers from every game this upcoming weekend. This information is courtesy of 506sports.com. All you got to do is log on to their website, www.506sports.com, and click the college football tab on the homepage, and it'll take you right to this week's schedule. Alright, so since the NFL kickoff game is tomorrow night, there is no college football on TV for Thursday. You will have 3 games on Friday, and then you have a full day of action on Saturday. So with that, let's dive into the Week 2 college football television schedule. Beginning on Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on ESPN2, it's BYU at SMU with Anish Shroff and Andre Ware. At the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on BTN, you've got Western Illinois at Indiana with Lisa Byington and Jay Lehman. The final game on Friday is at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on FS1, Duke at Northwestern, Connor Onion and Mark Helfrich. And that brings us to a packed Saturday in college football. You will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games starting at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. On ABC, it's Arkansas at number 16 Oklahoma State with Dave Pasch and Dusty Dvorak. On Fox's Big News Saturday is perhaps the biggest game of the week. Number 3 Texas at number 10 Michigan with Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. On ESPN, you've got number 17 Kansas State at Tulane with Bob Wischusen and Louis Riddick. On ESPN2, it's Pittsburgh at Cincinnati with Roy Philpott and Sam Acho. On ESPNU, it's Troy at Memphis, Mike Corey and Renee Eagle-Gilla. Then you'll have 2 games of interest on BTN. Most will see Bowling Green at number 8 Penn State with Chris Volsters and Matt Millen. Others will see Akron at Rutgers with Jason Horowitz and Andy Brenneman. On the ACC network, it's number 23 Georgia Tech at Syracuse with Chris Cotter and Mark Herzlich. On CBS Sports Network, it's Army at Florida Atlantic with Jordan Kent and Logan Ryan. Streaming exclusively on Peacock at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific is Rhode Island at Minnesota with Brandon Burke and Kyle Rudolph. And the last game at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, which is being broadcast locally on WFSB Channel 3, that's the local CBS station in Hartford. It's Merrimack at Connecticut, and there is no broadcast team announced for that game. At 12:45 p.m. Eastern, 9:45 a.m. Pacific on the SEC network, you've got McNeese State at Texas A&M with Taylor Zarzar and Matt Stinchcomb. Then you have 2 games at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Streaming on ESPN Plus and on SEC Network Plus is Tennessee Tech at number 1 Georgia with Jay Alter and Rocky Boyman. And streaming exclusively on ESPN Plus at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific is Missouri State at Ball State with Kelsey Casper and Ryan Kavanaugh. At 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, also streaming exclusively on ESPN Plus, is St. Francis of Pennsylvania at Kent State with Anthony Lima and Randy Buffington. And then rounding out the early afternoon portion of the schedule at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific on Silver State Sports and Mountain West Conference Digital is Utah Tech at UNLV. And there is no broadcast team announced for that game. Moving on to the late afternoon portion of the schedule, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games on at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific. On ABC, you've got South Carolina at Kentucky, Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy. On the Home Depot Big Ten on CBS, it's Iowa State at number 21 Iowa in their annual in-state battle. This game will be called by Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson. On Fox, it's Baylor at number 11 Utah, Jason Benetti and Brock Huard. On NBC, you've got Northern Illinois at number 5 Notre Dame with Dan Hicks and Jason Garrett. On ESPN2, it's California at Auburn, Dave Fleming and Brock Osweiler. On FS1, it's South Dakota at Wisconsin, Eric Collins and Spencer Tillman. And then you have two games at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific on ESPN Plus and ACC Network Extra. You've got Duquesne at Boston College with Bill Spalding and Craig Halbert, and Jacksonville State at number 22 Louisville with Justin Kutcher and Charles Arbuckle. And then you'll have two more games of regional interest on BTN at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific. Some will see Michigan State at Maryland with Jason Ross Jr. and Anthony Herron. Others will see Eastern Michigan at Washington with Mark Followell and Lincoln Kennedy. On the ACC network, it's Charlotte at North Carolina, George Sedano and Orlando Franklin. On CBS Sports Network, it's Temple at Navy. That's Temple at Navy. Carter Blackburn and Randy Cross. On True TV, it's Idaho at Wyoming. Ari Wolf and Darius Walker. And streaming on ESPN Plus at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific is Massachusetts at Toledo with Michael Reggie and Gerard Cherry. At 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on ESPNU is UTSA at Texas State. Doug Sherman and Teoka Jackson. A few minutes after that at 4:15 p.m. Eastern, 1:15 p.m. Pacific on the SEC Network, Middle Tennessee at number 6 Ole Miss. Dave Neal and Aaron Murray. On the CW, it's Marshall at Virginia Tech with Tom Brenneman and Max Brown. And that's at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. And then you've got a host of games on ESPN Plus at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. The first game is also on ACC Network Extra, and that's Florida A&M at Miami with Chucky Kempf and Forrest Connolly. All the other games are streaming on ESPN Plus, including Albany at West Virginia with Richard Cross and Barrett Brooks, South Alabama at Ohio with Jim Barbar and Marcus Ray, and then the remaining games, Central Michigan at Florida International, East Carolina at Old Dominion, and Gardner-Webb at James Madison. There are no broadcast teams announced for those 3 games. And then you have another game streaming on ESPN Plus at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific. Sam Houston State at USF with James Wesseling and Leger Duzable. Now to the evening portion of the schedule, and you're going to have a bunch of games at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 games will be getting underway at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. ESPN has South Florida at number 4 Alabama with Joe Tessitore and Jesse Palmer. ESPN2 has Virginia at Wake Forest with Mike Monaco and Kirk Morrison. On FS1, it's number 19 Kansas at Illinois, Alex Faust and Robert Smith. On ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus, you have 2 games. The first is Buffalo at number 9 Missouri with Lowell Galindo and Fozzie Whitaker. The other game is Sanford at Florida with Clay Matvick and Steve Adazio. I always get his name mixed up. It's Adazio. Sorry about that, guys. Alright. On ESPN Plus and ACC Network Extra at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific is Cal Poly at Stanford. Roxy Bernstein and Michael Bumpus. Then on CBS Sports Network at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, you've got San Jose State at Air Force, Chris Lewis and Taylor McCargway. On True TV, Georgia Southern at Nevada with J.B. Long and Mike Golick Jr. On Altitude Sports and Mountain West Conference Digital, you have Northern Colorado at Colorado State, and there is no broadcast team announced for that game. The remaining 7 games are streaming on ESPN Plus at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and only one of those games have announcers, and that's Texas Southern at Rice with Sean Kenny and LaDarren McClain. The other games, Chattanooga at Georgia State, Eastern Kentucky at Western Kentucky, Louisiana at Kennesaw State, Southeastern Louisiana at Southern Miss, Tulsa at Arkansas State, UAB at Louisiana Monroe, and William and Mary at Coastal Carolina. There are no broadcast teams announced for those 7 games. And then you'll have another 6 games at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. On ABC's Saturday Night Football, it's number 14 Tennessee and number 24 NC State. They're playing this game at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, and this game will be called by Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit. On NBC's Big Ten Saturday Night, Coach Prime and Colorado visits Nebraska with Paul Burmeister and Colt McCoy. ESPNU will have Alcorn State at Vanderbilt, Kevin Fitzgerald and Charlie Strong. At 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus is Nicholls State at number 15 LSU. Make that number 18 LSU. With Matt Schumacher and Dustin Fox. On BTN, it's Western Michigan at number 2 Ohio State. Jeff Levering and Jake Butt. And streaming on ESPN Plus at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific is Stephen F. Austin at North Texas with Pete Souza and Doc Holliday. Then after that at 7:45 p.m. Eastern, 4:45 p.m. Pacific on the SEC Network is Houston at number 15 Oklahoma with Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, and Cole Kubalik. At 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on the ACC Network is Appalachian State at number 25 Clemson, Wes Durham, and Tom Luginbill. Streaming on ESPN Plus at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, you've got Long Island at TCU, Ted Emmerich and Dave Steckel. Also streaming on ESPN Plus at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific is Southern Utah at UTEP. There is no broadcast team announced for that game. That brings us pretty much to the late night portion of the schedule. At 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Fox, Texas Tech at Washington State, Tim Brando and Devin Gardner. Streaming exclusively on Peacock at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific is Boise State at number 7 Oregon, Andrew Siciliano and Michael Robinson. Broadcasting locally on KGPE CBS 47 in Fresno, California, and streaming on Mountain West Conference Digital at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific is Sacramento State at Fresno State, and there is no broadcast team announced for that game. Streaming on ESPN Plus at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific is Northern Arizona at number 20 Arizona, Chris Sylvester and Brad Hawkins. Then at 10:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Pacific on ESPN is Mississippi State at Arizona State, Mark Jones and Roddy Jones, again no relation. On ESPN2 at the same time, 10:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Pacific, Liberty at New Mexico State with Brian Custer and Rod Gilmore. At 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on CBS Sports Network is Oregon State at San Diego State, Rich Waltz and Robert Turbin. And the final game of the night is at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific on BTN, Utah State at number 13 USC, Guy Haberman and Yogi Roth. And that is a look at the Week 2 college football television schedule and the announcers for each game. And we'll be taking a look at these schedules every Wednesday. I'll be back a little bit later on today to look at the injury report across the National Football League heading into the season openers beginning tomorrow. So that'll be coming up here a little bit later on, so join me for that. And tomorrow I'll be making my NFL picks for Week 1, both straight up and against the spread, so make sure you join me for that as well. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.